Hey everyone, and welcome back to the deep dive. You know how this works. You give us the sources, and we try to give you the absolute coolest, most interesting parts.
That's right. We take a deep dive together.
And today we're looking into something that a lot of you have been asking about.
Yeah.
And it's building AI-powered apps.
Yeah, and to do that, we're going to be taking a close look at Google's Firebase Genkit. So we've got their Genkit website. We also have a couple of their YouTube channel videos, and this stuff is pretty amazing.
Okay, so let's get into it. What exactly is Genkit?
Yeah.
I was watching Peter Fries. He's a developer advocate over at Firebase.
Okay.
And he was introducing it in the Getting Started with Genkit video. And he threw out some really interesting words: open source, prototyping, testing, deploying AI. It sounds like the whole package for bringing AI to life.
It is. It's a complete toolkit. And what really stood out to me is that you can build AI features that use your app's data. It's not just some generic AI, out there. This is AI that's tailored to the specific information that you have. I mean, imagine the possibility.
Okay, give me an example, because, what can we actually build with this?
Oh, in that same video, Peter builds a knowledge base app that automatically summarizes articles that you save.
Whoa, okay.
Think about all the time that could save you. No more, reading pages and pages of text.
Right.
You get the key insights instantly.
So the AI is reading these articles for me. That's incredible. How does that even work?
So he does it using Firestore triggers.
Okay.
And these triggers are essentially like little alarms that go off whenever something happens, specifically in your app's database. So when you add a link to your knowledge base, the trigger sets off a chain reaction.
Wow.
That automatically runs the AI summarization.
So it's all automatic, like behind the scenes.
Totally.
Okay, that is powerful.
Yeah.
Is this only something that, really expert developers can use?
No, not at all. One of the things that makes Genkit so great is its focus on making AI development, easy and accessible. They have this really cool developer UI, and Peter shows it off in the video. It's like a playground for your AI ideas. You can run different models, you can craft prompts, and you can see how the AI responds. It's almost like a lab for your AI.
Oh, so like a lab, but without the complicated setup.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that.
And that is one of the keys to AI development, to being able to iterate quickly and tweak your prompts, try different approaches, and see the results instantly. And Genkit's developer UI seems really great for that.
Okay, cool. So we've got this developer UI, but what about the AI itself? What kind of smarts are we working with here?
So one of the things that sets Genkit apart is retrieval augmented generation, or RAG.
RAG, okay.
You know how most AI is trained on massive data sets?
Right.
But they don't really understand your data?
Yeah.
Our guy changes that.
Okay, walk me through it. What's so special about RAG?
Imagine asking the AI a question about something specific to your app. So like your notes or your user data. With RAG, the AI doesn't just rely on general knowledge.
Okay.
It actually digs into your data to find the most relevant information and uses that to answer your question.
Whoa, so it's read all my notes and can give me a personalized answer. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But how does it actually understand the meaning of my data?
This is where the magic of vector embeddings comes in.
Okay.
It can be a little technical, but essentially each piece of information, whether it's a word or a sentence or even an image, gets turned into a set of coordinates in a multidimensional space.
My brain's trying to picture that.
Yeah.
And it's hurting.
It is a lot, yeah.
Maybe an analogy would help.
Okay, so think of a map.
Okay.
Each city has a unique set of coordinates that tells you where it is. Vector embeddings are kind of like that.
Okay.
But instead of cities, we're mapping the meaning of words and concepts. So words with similar meanings end up closer together in that multidimensional space.
Okay. So the AI uses these vector embeddings to understand relationships.
Right.
Even if I haven't explicitly told it how they're connected.
That's exactly it.
This is seriously cool stuff. We are just scratching the surface here, and I'm feeling inspired.
Me too.
If you're loving this Genkit deep dive, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more awesome explorations of cutting-edge tech. Also, drop a comment below, because we want to know, what kind of AI feature would you build?
We're always looking for new ideas, and we love to hear what you are curious about, so share your thoughts.
All right, let's dive back into Genkit. Remember those old sci-fi movies where AI was all about text and robots?
Yeah.
Well, Genkit is so much more than that. This is where things get really futuristic.
You're talking about multimodal generation.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I am really excited about this. For a long time, AI was kind of stuck in the world of text, but Genkit allows us to start working with images.
Okay, paint me a picture. What can we do with multimodal AI?
Well, in the multimodal generation with Firebase Genkit video, Pavel Jabanov, who's another member of the Firebase Genkit team, he shows how you can describe an image to the AI, like a picture of the Eiffel Tower.
Okay.
But here's the really cool part. He then asks the AI to generate a picture of a penguin, but with a jetpack.
Wait, what? A penguin with a jetpack? That's amazing. It's like it's understanding the concepts, but it's also using its imagination to create something new.
That's exactly right.
This is why I love technology. It's all about, pushing boundaries.
Right.
Okay, so we've got this really powerful AI, but how do we actually build with it? What's that development process like in Genkit?
So one of the key concepts in Genkit is flows.
Flows, okay.
Think of flows like functions. They're reusable chunks of AI logic that you define. You tell the flow what kind of input and output you want, and then Genkit handles the AI in between.
So it's like an AI-powered factory, like raw data goes in, a finished product comes out.
Yeah, that's a great way to think about it.
And the flow is like the assembly line in the middle.
I like that. And Genkit balances that power with ease of use. These flows are designed to be really flexible, but also developer-friendly.
Okay, so what do you mean by developer-friendly?
In the What Are Genkit Flows video, Pavel highlights two features that really stood out to me. Strong typing and streaming capabilities. Strong typing basically means the AI is really clear about the type of data it's working with. So that helps prevent errors and makes your code more reliable.
So it's like having a recipe that tells you exactly what ingredients you need so you don't accidentally mess it up.
Exactly. And streaming capabilities just means the AI can process data in chunks, so you don't have to wait for everything to load before you start seeing results.
Okay.
This is really important for building apps that feel really snappy.
Okay, that's impressive.
Yeah.
So Genkit gives us these flows for organizing our AI logic, but what about the prompts themselves? Those are the instructions, right, that we give to the AI.
Right.
Are those buried somewhere in the code?
That's a great question, and Genkit has a solution for that called .prompt. It's a library that lets you manage your prompts separately from the code. And that is a big win for developers, but also for prompt engineers.
Wait, prompt engineers, is that an actual job?
It is. Prompt engineering is becoming really important as AI becomes more sophisticated. It's all about crafting the perfect instructions to get the AI to do exactly what you want.
Wow, okay. So .prompt helps us manage these prompts. What's so special about it?
Well, for one thing, it lets you store your prompts in separate files, which makes them way easier to read and edit and also to version control.
That's more organized.
Yeah, it's like having a notebook for all your great AI ideas. But .prompt does more than just store them. It allows for what's called structured output, which means you can tell the AI exactly what kind of data you want back. Let's say you want the output in JSON format. You can specify that right in your prompt file.
JSON. Remind me what that is again.
Oh, right. So JSON is just a way to represent data in a structured format that's easy for computers to understand.
Okay, got it. So .prompt not only helps us organize our prompts, but also gives us more control over the output.
Right.
Pretty smart.
It is, and .prompt can do even more than that. But we'll save that for later.
Okay, sounds good. Wow, we've covered a lot of ground already, from the basics of Genkit to its features, RJAC, multimodal generation, flows, .prompt. I mean, I'm really starting to get it.
Me too. And all of this is open source, so it's available for you to start building your own AI-powered apps. It's amazing how easy it's become.
Before we jump into part 2 of this deep dive, we want to hear from you. What's been the most exciting part of Genkit so far? Let us know in the comments.
And if you're enjoying this journey, be sure to subscribe to our channel for more deep dives like this.
Okay, let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back with part 2 to explore even more awesome Genkit features.
Yeah, we've got a lot more to cover. And we are back with part 2 of our Genkit deep dive. You know, one of the things that really sets Genkit apart is that it's not limited to, like, just a handful of pre-selected AI models.
So it's not a walled garden?
Exactly. Genkit is designed to work with a wide range of generative AI models and vector databases. It's like a universal adapter for AI. So developers have the flexibility to choose the best tools, right, for the job.
That's huge. It means you're not locked in.
Yeah.
So Genkit highlights these integrations with Firebase and Google Cloud. but it's not strictly tied to them.
That's right. It can work independently, too. You can use it with whatever you're comfortable with. But I am curious about those integrations. Did the videos actually show how to, get started with Genkit?
Yeah, they did. In the Getting Started with Genkit video, Peter actually walks us through setting up a new Genkit project. And you can launch Genkit's developer UI right in your browser.
Wow, that's pretty cool. So you can start playing around with AI without any kind of complicated setup.
Yeah, exactly. It really lowers the barrier to entry for anyone who's curious about AI development.
Yeah.
And once you're in the developer UI, you can start experimenting. They have this model runner that lets you interact with different models, including Gemini and Llama.
Oh, wow. Gemini is Google's AI model.
Yeah.
And Llama is that powerful open source one from Meta. So you have access to all that right away.
Right out of the gate.
That's awesome.
And it goes beyond just running models. You can use the developer UI to fine-tune your prompts and tweak all sorts of parameters. So you can really get it to behave how you want.
So you have a remote control for your AI?
Exactly.
To adjust the settings and see how it affects the output? That's awesome.
And they even have this built-in chat feature so you can have back-and-forth conversations with the model.
Wait, hold on. A chat feature? I can have a conversation with the AI.
Genkit provides a chat API that you can use to integrate multi-turn conversations into your applications.
So I could build an app where users can chat with an AI that gives them recommendations and stuff?
Precisely. The possibilities are endless.
That's amazing.
All sorts of cool applications.
Yeah, this is really exciting, but it also raises a question for me. I mean, we're talking about these AI models, they're making decisions, they're generating responses, but how can we actually understand what's happening, inside the AI brain?
Like a black box sometimes, right?
Yeah.
You put data in, you get results out, but you don't always know how it works.
So are there tools or features in Genkit that kind of give us more visibility?
Absolutely. Genkit is all about observability. And every time you interact with a model or run a flow, it actually records a trace.
Okay, a trace. What's in the trace?
It's comprehensive. You can see the exact prompt you sent to the model, the response it generated, the safety ratings, all this other metadata. It's like you have X-ray vision into the AI's thought process.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So that would be good for, debugging.
Yeah.
And fine-tuning.
Yeah, and they take it a step further because you can open those traces in the model runner. So you can tweak a prompt, rerun it, and you instantly see how the changes affect the output.
Wow. So you can see how your tweaks are changing things.
Exactly.
Cool. Okay, so we've talked a lot about what Genkit can do, but what's it like to actually build with it? What's the developer experience?
One of the things that stood out to me in the videos is the emphasis on modularity. It seems like they've really put thought into making it easy to swap out different components of your AI workflows without having to, rewrite lots of code.
Can you give me a specific example?
Sure. Let's say you're using a specific AI model for a particular flow, but you want to experiment with a different one. With Genkit, you can literally update a single line of code, and after a refresh, that new model is ready to go in the developer UI.
Whoa, so I can experiment with different AI without having to redo my whole project.
Exactly. And that flexibility extends beyond models. You can swap out vector databases, embedding models, even prompt templates, all with just a few lines of code.
That's pretty cool. So that means I can choose the best tools and also adapt, as AI changes.
Right. That agility is essential.
Yeah.
Especially in a field like AI.
Okay, so can we go through a real-world example?
Sure.
How you might actually use Genkit?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's say you're building an app that helps users collect articles they want to read later, like a knowledge base.
Okay, yeah, we've all been there. You bookmark articles, you have the best intentions to read them, and then they just pile up.
Right, it's like that stack of magazines that you never get to.
Exactly.
So how about we use Genkit to add a feature that automatically summarizes those articles?
That would be amazing.
So users can get the gist of the content.
Yeah.
Without having to read the whole thing.
I would love that. How would we do that?
Well, in the Getting Started with Genkit video, Peter actually builds something very similar. He starts by prototyping a prompt in the developer UI to get the AI to summarize the content of, like a URL or block of text.
So he's teaching it how to pull out the most important points.
Right.
It's like having a digital assistant that takes notes for you.
That's a great analogy. And there are nuances, of course. If you just give the AI a URL and that URL doesn't exist, it might just, make up information.
Really? So it could just be wrong.
Right.
It'd be like asking someone to summarize a book they've never read.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
It's much more reliable to give the AI the text itself.
Gotcha. So we have the prompt for summarizing the text, but how do we actually integrate that into the app?
That's where those Genkit flows come in. Remember, those are like reusable functions. We can create a flow that takes the text as input and then gives us a concise summary.
So we're building a content condensing machine.
Exactly.
Raw text in, summary out.
And Genkit makes this surprisingly easy. In the video, Peter uses a function called onFlow to define the flow. And he names it, and he specifies the data that goes in and out.
So it's like structured.
Right. And since this flow will be called from the client application, we also need to think about security. So Peter shows how to set up an authentication policy.
Right, because we don't want just anyone using it.
To make sure only authorized users can access it.
Okay, so the flow's defined. How does it run? Is it synchronous?
That's a great question. The answer is no. It's asynchronous.
Okay.
Meaning it runs in the background.
You don't want the app to freeze up every time it runs.
Exactly. In the video, Peter uses an arrow function to define the flow, and then he uses something called string interpolation to insert the text into the prompt.
It's like those Mad Libs games.
Yes. And to call the AI model, he uses Genkit's generate function.
And in this example, he's using Gemini Pro,
Right.
but could he use like a different model?
He emphasizes that you can use any of the LLMs, the large language models that Genkit supports.
Oh, wow, okay.
You're not locked in.
So the model generates the summary, and then what?
Peter shows how to extract the text and send it back to whoever called the flow.
Okay.
So if you triggered it from your app, you get the summary back,
Yeah.
ready to show the user.
That's awesome. So once this is built, we can reuse it.
Over and over.
Okay.
For new articles.
So efficient.
Right. And you can use Genkit's developer UI to test it. So he calls the flow from the UI, gives it some text, and he immediately sees the output.
Well, that's really cool. So you can test it right there in the UI.
Yeah, like a little playground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And since it's defined using the onFlow function, Genkit automatically exposes it as a callable cloud function.
So we don't have to set up any API endpoints.
Exactly. Genkit handles all of that for you.
Okay, so our users are loving this automatic summarization.
Yeah.
They're blasting through their reading lists.
That's great.
But then one user asks if it's possible to have the app automatically generate summaries for all the links they add without having to trigger it every single time.
Ah, so even more automation. That would be pretty cool.
And that is where Firestore triggers come back into play. We can set up a trigger that goes off whenever a new link is added to the knowledge base.
So the AI springs into action.
Every time.
Yeah.
He shows how to grab the text from the link using a web scraping library
Okay.
and feed that text to the summarization flow.
Gotcha.
It's like a chain reaction.
Yeah.
A new link, the trigger fires, the flow kicks in, and you have a new summary.
I love it. This is all working together so well.
And it's really easy to call these flows from within Firestore triggers. We can use run flow, pass along the data, and it runs in the background. The user doesn't even notice.
So the app stays responsive.
Right. And we don't need to manually trigger it anymore.
Right.
We can simplify the definition of the flow. Instead of on flow, we use define flow,
Okay.
which basically removes it as a callable cloud function.
Got it. So it's like a behind-the-scenes role.
Exactly. Okay, so our knowledge base is thriving. Everyone's happy. But as users add more articles, they realize that simple keyword searching isn't enough.
Yeah, you need something more intelligent. Like you need to be able to search based on meaning, not just the words.
All right, and this is where RAG comes in. Remember how we talked about it?
Yeah.
RAG allows the AI to use all the data that the user has stored. That's essential for building intelligent search.
Yeah, it's like having a research assistant that can go through your notes.
Okay, I'm sold.
Yeah.
RAG sounds like the answer.
Yeah.
How does it actually work in Genkit?
One of the essential components is the vector embeddings.
Right, the multi-dimensional coordinate.
Exactly, like the map where similar cities are closer. And Genkit makes it easy to generate those embeddings. There are 3 main steps to RAG.
Okay, what are the steps?
First, we need to compute vector embeddings for all the data we want to make searchable.
So every article gets a unique fingerprint.
Exactly. Second, we have to steer those embeddings, and that's where vector databases come in. They're specifically designed for this.
So it's like a library, and each book has a code that represents its meaning.
Right. And lastly, when a user searches, we need to compute its vector embedding and then use that to find the most relevant documents in the vector database.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Does Genkit give us any tools for this RAG implementation?
It has a file-based local vector store, perfect for prototyping. You can even set up multiple stores, each with its own configuration.
So I can experiment, try different models.
Exactly.
And to make sure the vector store stays up to date, we can use another Firestore trigger.
Oh, cool.
This time, it'll go off when a new article is added. And it automatically generates the vector embedding and adds it to the vector store.
It's like an AI librarian that's constantly organizing new books.
Okay, so the vector store is all set. We have our embeddings. We are ready to build the actual search feature using RAG. What's next?
So we're going to create a flow for this, just like the summarization. We want users to be able to trigger this search from the app, so we'll use the onFlow function again.
So it'll be a public-facing flow.
That's right.
That users can use to do these semantic searches with RAG.
Exactly. The flow is going to take the search query and return the AI-generated answer. To work with the vector store, we use Genkit's retrieve function.
Retrieve, okay.
Yeah, so it takes 3 main parameters: the vector store, the search query, and how many matches you want to retrieve.
So I can control how many documents the AI considers.
Exactly. You can fine-tune it based on what the user needs. Let's say we want to get the top 3 documents. We combine them, insert them into the prompt, and tell the AI to generate an answer based on that.
So we're giving it evidence and asking it to be a detective.
Yes. We then use the generate function again.
And we can still choose whatever LLM we want.
Yes, you have all the freedom. So this local vector store is great for prototypes, but it's not really designed for production. Why is that?
You are right.
Yeah.
The local vector store is super convenient to get started, but it stores data in local files. That can become an issue when your knowledge base gets huge.
So what do you do when you need to scale up?
There are many production-ready vector databases, like Postgres, Chroma, and Pinecone. But Peter mentions another option, Firestore, the database we are already using.
Ah, so we can use that.
It also supports a vector data type, so we can store the text AND, its vector embedding, in the same document.
So everything's in the same place. That's convenient.
And to make this work, Genkit has a function called define Firestore retriever.
Okay, break that down for me.
It creates a bridge between Genkit and Firestore. It configures a retriever that queries Firestore documents based on the vector embeddings.
So Genkit can speak Firestore when it comes to vector data.
Exactly. And when we set it up, we tell it which Firestore instance, the collection, the fields for the text and embeddings, and the distance metric.
Wow. That's a lot of configuration, but it sounds like we have a lot of control.
It does. And once this is set up, we can easily swap it into our existing flow. That's literally all we had to change in the code.
Wow, so easy.
And in the video, he shows this. He adds a new article to the knowledge base, and you can see Firestore updates it with the embedding.
So cool. Okay, so now we can use Genkit's developer UI to do those searches.
Against the entire knowledge base.
Okay.
The flow will find the top 3 documents and give them to the AI to generate an answer.
It's like a perfectly choreographed dance.
It really is. And we have the traces so we can see how the flow is executing.
So we can keep an eye on things.
Exactly. Okay, fast forward a bit. Our knowledge base is a huge success. But as the project evolves, the prompt engineers want to try different prompts.
Yeah. To improve
the summaries and search results, but we don't want them digging around in the code.
Right, that could get messy.
Yeah. So how do we give them more freedom without it getting too complicated?
Well, Genkit has a solution for that, and it's called .prompt, remember?
.prompt. Yeah, I think Peter mentioned that.
He did. And now we're going to dive deeper. So, .prompt uses a file called you guessed it, a .prompt file.
So we can store the prompt separately.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they are easy to read, edit, and version control. They're like treasure chests for AI instructions.
Okay. Are they just plain text?
They support handlebars templates.
Oh, cool. So we have more flexibility.
Yes, you can create more dynamic prompts. But one of the coolest features is being able to define both the input and output schemas.
Schemas. Remind me what those are again?
A schema is basically like a blueprint. It tells the AI the structure and type of data it should be using.
So the AI knows what to expect.
Exactly. And .prompt actually uses these schemas to augment the prompt itself. So it helps the AI generate the right kind of response.
So it's not just about validating data.
Right.
It's about helping the AI understand.
Exactly. And you can also specify the exact model and its configuration right in that file.
Oh, wow. So the prompt file becomes like a recipe for a specific AI task.
I like that. So in the video, Peter creates a new .prompt file in a prompts folder.
Organized.
Yes. And at the top, he defines the model and configuration. It's the same configuration as before, but now prompt engineers can experiment without having to touch the code.
That gives them a lot more freedom.
Yeah. Then he defines the input schema, which in this case is just a string, and writes the actual prompt using those handlebars templates we talked about.
So it's the same prompt, but now it's in its own file.
Right. And then in the code, he updates the function to load the prompt from this new file.
So the code basically stays the same.
We are still loading a prompt, but it's managed externally now. And this is where we can use .prompt for structured output.
Okay, structured output. Tell me more.
Let's say we want the AI to give us tags that capture the main themes of the article.
That would be helpful for organizing things.
With .prompt, we can do that. Peter updates the output schema. He specifies that the output should be a JSON object with synopsis for the summary and tags for the list of tags.
So we give it a template.
Yeah. And .prompt uses those descriptions to make the prompt better. It helps guide the AI.
It understands better.
Yes. And in the code, we can use object destructuring to get the synopsis and tags from the response.
So we get all the good stuff out of it.
Exactly. And it's type safe, so fewer errors.
That's amazing. We've built this whole sophisticated knowledge base with AI summarization, semantic search, and tagging. And it all started with helping users manage their reading lists.
All thanks to Genkit.
And we've just scratched the surface of .prompt. It can do multi-message prompts, multimodal prompts, prompt variants.
So much.
A lot. Okay, let's talk about deployment. We've built all these great features, but how do we actually get this to users?
That's the real test, right?
Right. Well, Peter mentions that deploying Genkit flows to production is really easy, especially if you are using Firebase. We've been using the Firebase emulator to test our flows. But to go live, it's literally one command, Firebase deploy.
Really? Just one command, that's it.
The Firebase CLI handles everything. Packaging the code, setting up the resources in the cloud, deploying to Firebase.
Wow, that's amazing. It's like having a team of experts doing it for you.
Once it's done, we point our app to the endpoint, and we are live.
So cool. Our users are going to love it.
And Genkit has support for OpenTelemetry.
OpenTelemetry? What's that?
It's a framework for collecting data from your AI workflows.
What kind of data?
It's like a performance dashboard for your AI. We can see how long different parts of the flows are taking to run, the resources they're using, any errors that come up.
So we can see what's working and what's not.
Exactly. We can see it all in the Cloud Logs Explorer.
So we can investigate our AI.
Right. We've covered a lot in this deep dive into Genkit.
We have.
We've gone over the features, walked through an example, talked about deployment and monitoring.
And we are just getting started.
There's so much more to learn.
It really does feel like there's a ton more to discover.
Yeah. And the good news is that Genkit has really great documentation. It covers, everything from the basics to more advanced stuff. Like they even talk about how to evaluate how good your AI's responses are.
Right, because you have to make sure it's reliable. And Genkit also has a really great community. They have a Discord server, a really active GitHub repo. So, you can connect with other developers, ask for help, share ideas.
That's awesome. So you're not alone on this AI journey.
Not at all.
Yeah.
There are tons of people building really cool stuff. Throughout this whole deep dive, I've been impressed by how much Genkit is focused on real-world applications. It's not just theory. It's about building useful things.
Yeah, it's for developers who actually want to build stuff that people will use.
Yeah.
And it really integrates well with other Firebase services. We talked about the Firestore triggers, but there's more, right?
Yeah, there's a lot more. Yeah. For example, you can use Firebase Remote Config to update your AI models and prompts dynamically.
So you mean you can change things without having to redeploy the whole application?
Exactly. You don't have to push a new update to the app stores every time you want to make a change.
Wow, that's a lot of flexibility.
It is.
What other integrations are there?
Well, Firebase authentication is a big one.
Okay, yeah.
Genkit makes it really easy to secure your AI flows.
Right, because security is really important.
It is. You don't want just anyone to be able to access your AI or your data.
Exactly. And Genkit gives you the tools you need to protect things. I love the Firebase ecosystem. It's like everything you need in one place. Genkit just fits in perfectly.
It does. And remember, Genkit's designed to work with ANY model API or vector database.
You don't have to use Firebase.
You can still use Genkit. Yeah. Even if you're using a different setup. And Genkit is built to be modular, so you can swap out different parts easily. It's like having a big box of AI tools.
I love that. You can try different models, vector databases, prompts, and like you said, the possibilities really are endless.
They are. And, it's amazing how much AI has changed in recent years. It's becoming so much more accessible to everyone, not just experts.
And Genkit is leading the way.
It is. It's making AI more practical and easier to use.
So if you're listening, and you're even a little bit curious about AI, check out Genkit. You might be surprised at how easy it is to get started.
Yeah, don't be afraid to experiment and try new things.
Push the boundaries.
Genkit makes it easy and fun.
This has been such a great deep dive. We've learned so much about Genkit.
I agree. It's been a blast exploring it with you.
Before we go, remember to subscribe to our channel. We have a ton of exciting deep dives coming up.
And leave a comment below. We want to know what you think about Genkit.
Until next time, keep exploring and keep learning. And keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible with AI.